PlayStation VR2 has arrived. Let's do this. This just got in this morning. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. Gosh, the tip of that's still really sharp, isn't it? I was like watching at the window with my nose pressed to it, waiting for the freaking UPS driver to show up. They came and it is here and it's before noon, so I thought that was pretty decent. I did pre-order this through Sony. Sony did not send me this, so just so you know. I will say, first thing when it came in, the size of the box and the overall weight, I was surprised that it was smaller and lighter than I expected. Maybe I should have gotten my old PSVR box out to compare, but I felt like it was just so big. All right, we got the quality seal label and some more tape. Guess we're gonna need that small, sharp unboxing knife again. 1 and 2. Safety first, kids. Now, we did get to briefly try this at CES. A lot of you caught that video. So we've had a little bit of hands-on experience with this, but not a ton. This is what Sony keeps doing with their boxes. They keep like making it look like it's a cool box, but it's just like a shell on the outside of a normal box. I think the main thing that I don't like about this new way they're doing the boxes is that you always end up ripping the outer shell trying to get the box out. I want to preserve it. I want it to stay nice, even though it came with a freaking booger right on the front of it. Ew. We are back for another round of tape. Okay, you're really making me work for it, Sony. Open to reveal. Your USB-A to USB-C, that's to charge your controllers. The included headphones and ear tips. We'll start using these just so we can give you an impression of them all, but we'll definitely be switching to a more proper headset pretty quickly. The book, which I saw, they have a video on YouTube of like how to set this up, and it says read that thing cover to cover. Who is gonna do that? The main thing I wanna get to right here is the headset. Ooh. There's always something different to having your own versus like trying one on at a demo that everyone else's head has been in. It feels familiar though. It feels like an old friend. You get this out and it feels a lot like PSVR 1, which was my first major headset. It pulls with a lot more tension than the PSVR 1 did, although that could be, mine's pretty old now. And I actually have been playing on it again just to prepare, get through some of those last games that I'd never gotten to play. Boy, lots of expansion. So some of the questions people have been asking already. The original PSVR had a tendency to flake here over time. Obviously that was months and months of sweat later, so it's hard to speak to that, but this is definitely a very different rubber material here than what the original one was. The xylophone gasket that people have been curious about, they use the xylophone design in a really smart way, so you can push it all the way into your face, but if you have glasses and you need to keep it back further, it'll still make contact with your face to still cut you off from the outside world, give you that darkness and make it more immersive. Fresnel lenses, like other lenses like the Quest 2 and stuff, if you catch the light, you can see the concentric rings in there. We'll have to do some testing to see if that really adds to God rays and stuff, but similar to the old design, but a different looking system. You got the button here that unlocks it and then it can be stretched out, but then when you get to the desired length you want, you can tighten it down with this and it'll lock it from going any further. But if you leave it in locked position, it'll make that weird sound. So you want to press that button again, otherwise it'll do that cranking. That cord is a lot of weight right now just because it's all wound up, you notice that. So I'm gonna get that off me. Oh. It's got that factory smell. It feels a lot like an original PSVR when you get it on your head. It just feels familiar. You know, it's not exactly the same. Let's get the controllers out real quick. Another question people had was, is the cable removable? And it looked like it wasn't really. You see it going into here, but we've seen now that behind the padding, you actually see where the cable goes in. There is a spot up there where the cable goes in. Now, so it doesn't look like it's easily removable, but it does look like if you break your cable, you might be able to get a replacement and they might be able to have instructions for you, or you just send it to someone that can do it. Now, interestingly, it comes with the wrist straps installed already. I thought that I'd seen a thing that said you were gonna have to install them yourself, so that's nice that they're already on there. Yeah, we played around with them at CES, but the controllers do feel nice. The big bulb here might get in the way a little bit. We'll test that out, but at first impression, when you get this thing in your hand, it's not super heavy. Feels good, it feels like it should be there. And they made a new design with the wrist strap, which I saw something about this. This is interesting. So it used to be that you'd always take it and then you'd kind of work your way up with your finger. The way this is designed, you are supposed to put your hand in it and then turn your wrist and it'll auto tighten on you, which is pretty cool. I like that a lot better because then that makes a one-handed design much easier. Like see, if I already have this hanging off this wrist, and I'm holding on the controller with this hand, it would be kind of awkward to try and get up here and push that in. So now I just go like that. Safety always says you should always use your wrist straps. I have a feeling a lot of people aren't going to because they don't already with other controllers, but these ones, especially now that you have these rings around your hands, you can kind of drop them and not really feel like they're gonna fall on the ground. So I feel like a lot of people are gonna get rid of those straps first thing. Real quickly, let's show you how the headphones install and then we'll take this thing over and do it the setup, see how complicated that is. So the included headphones are pretty straightforward. You've got your typical 3.5 and you can see right where that goes. That's gonna go in and then that's gonna hold. That's in on that side. The other side has just this weird little plastic tip here. And then that needs to be pushed into this snaps in pretty hard. And then it has the same old storage spots for these. So whether you're using them or not, you can pop them in here in between uses. And then when the person's playing, they can just pull that down and put it in their ear. These get pretty gross. I'm gonna warn you now, I know that from PSVR 1. If people are sticking these in and out of their ears, even a little bit of wax over time is gonna be getting cleaned on and off in here. So it's not the best solution, especially if you're sharing this thing. Let's go take this over and start the setup process and see what that looks like. So I've just basically got the PS5 out at the main screen here. No games or anything are logged in. I have not plugged in the PSVR yet. I want to see how simple of a process this is. So I'm just going to plug the USB-C to this front USB-C. First thing when we got over in the other studio, I tried to just plug the headset in and I thought, okay, this is probably just going to automatically do something. All right, nothing yet. I'm going to try popping the headset on. Didn't really think about the fact that there's a power button on it, just like there was the original PSVR. I'd kind of forgotten about that little detail. I know there's a power button on this somewhere. Aha, right in the middle. We have light. One step closer. Oh. So when you turn it on, the headset motor vibrates. So that's some pretty good feedback that it's running because you feel that wobble on your head. All right, first step, we gotta update. All right, set up your PlayStation VR2, get started. Get your VR headset ready. Connect the stereo headphones, already did it. Connect your PSVR2 Sense controller to your PS5 using the USB cable. You might have one laying around, but they include one. I have learned from PSVR 1, only ever use the included cables, because there's been so many times where I thought, oh, this controller isn't working even though I'm trying to pair it, or oh, my PSVR wasn't working, because you had to use some sort of proprietary something SONY cable. So the port is in the very bottom front of it, not actually on the bottom. Next, pair it by pressing the PlayStation button. All right, says the right one's now paired. I'm surprised it didn't give me any vibrational feedback or anything to let me know. So now we're gonna switch over to the left one. And then when I press the PS button, then we get the light on there. Both are connected and paired. Enjoy a safe VR experience. Set up your room properly. There's some space. Strong lights can make tracking difficult, so keep your curtains closed to avoid direct sunlight. Might also be an issue with all these bright lights we have in here, but I guess we'll find out. Check the brightness of your room using the camera on your VR headset. Hold your VR headset at face level and then press that function to start checking. All right, so basically it's gonna have us use the pass-through, it looks like. It wants me to hold it out here and press the pass-through button, which it now says the check is complete. It's telling you how to put it on. I think we figured that part out by now. It kind of takes you through the setup on the screen first. Real straightforward, tells you everything on there, and me, I've had enough VR headsets, I was trying to skip past it. One thing different than the PSVR 1, I will say already, on the PSVR 1 a lot of times you could kind of just pop it on your head. You didn't really need to tighten the knob and it would kind of stay where I wanted it to. I did find I had to tighten it a lot more. Something about how they made this pad round and this pad, it doesn't just stay on my head as well like it used to, and that might get better over time as the pads kind of break down a little bit. With the old PSVR, I like never tighten the knob. I would just let it land where it landed and then it would be okay. But this one, I definitely feel like, okay, I gotta at least tighten it a little bit. The old one, some people got fatigued by how tight it always held their head and you couldn't stop that. So now they're using a little bit less resistance and letting you crank it down yourself. That makes sense. So during this, the pass-through button is actually the way you're kind of communicating with the headset, which is cool because before you didn't really have that, you had to use a controller a lot. Now it's saying, okay, get this all ready, and you can keep pressing the pass-through button to skip ahead. I already got the headset on. Yes, I got you. I got you. It's very long instructions here. It's nice though, it shows you good visuals for someone who's never used it and you're just trying to figure out, you know, how does the button and the crank work? It takes you through all that. And I really like that the setup is not just about setting it up on the PS5, it's about getting you used to it. It's telling me to put in my headphones, so I guess so. I'll just start yelling at all of you probably. Okay, to make sure you can see the screen clearly, adjust the lens distance so that your eyes are positioned in the middle of the lenses. It's nice because now that it has eye tracking, it can help you know whether these are right or not. You get inside and it tells you how to adjust everything to your eyes. I really like that. You're not playing the guessing game like you are on the Quest of like trying to get the lenses just right. It's working for you, showing you what to do. Good. Oh boy, there's the pass-through. Wow, I've got to say, having used Quest 2 pass-through so much in my home, that seeing through this is so much better looking than Quest pass-through. The pass-through looked exceptionally clear. I was shocked by how clear, even though it's black and white, obviously, it just looked like the real world, but black and white. It did not look like that weird milkiness you get on the Quest 2 or other headsets that have color pass-through even. It just looked right, which I really like that about it. It's hard to explain if you never used pass-through. I could tell when my hand was gonna hit something if I reached my hand forward. I've got full depth. I can tell before I'm gonna hit the wall, but my hands, even though it's black and white, it looks incredible compared to the Quest 2 pass-through that you're used to. So this is a very welcome change. I feel like it's real life, except black and white, if that makes sense. The pass-through is actually a really useful and helpful feature, but I'm gonna have to program myself to remember that it's there with this button when I wanna use it. So a nice thing here, it's telling me which controller's which. Oh, there's that wrist strap feature. Hold the grips. Done. It's gonna be weird for people who use the PS5 a lot. To me, when I think, okay, press the start button, I think I need to put my thumb up and to the left. Well, now I guess it's the options button. It's over here instead of where you'd be used to it on a Sense controller being here. I wonder what refresh rate these cameras are using, because it's interesting. My light on the wall over there looks like it's flashing, holding that start button. All right, and that reoriented the play space just like PSVR 1, brought my screen much closer where I can see it. Okay, tracks the movement of your eyes. So we're just doing eye tracking calibration. Gosh, text is so clear. The blacks are so dark around the text too. That OLED goodness. I'm noticing the weight of the cable. It's not huge, but it's definitely just kind of tugging. When you're used to using wireless a lot, you're gonna notice that cable again. Eye tracking is complete. Time to set the play area. Start scanning. You get through that and it takes you in to your room setup. That was really cool, actually. Look around, look all around you, including the, oh wow. It's mapping out Editor John over there. This is what's interesting, because no headsets so far have done a great job of mapping your environment for you. They don't love the green screen. They're struggling a bit to figure out what's going on there. Oh. Mapping the cat in. Oh, this is so cool looking. Even just this right here is really cool to watch. It's really struggling with the dark green areas and the matte a little bit too. It said it was complete, but it's still not full, so I'm trying to let it fill out. Seeing that it was like mapping out the room around me just felt really futuristic, because no VR headset I've ever used has done that. There are some, they're starting to get 3D scanners, they're starting to be able to do it, but the fact that it's doing all that too without any sort of depth sensor, it's just seeing the room and mapping it out from there with its cameras. It's impressive that it can do that. So it's trying to make my play area a very awkward shape here. I'm probably gonna have to make it a little bigger than the actual area, because I don't want it popping up on me unless I'm actually near the wall. So it tries to figure out your play area, and then it has you push it out rather than like the Quest, you map the whole thing out yourself. This has mapped out what it thinks seems right, and I'm gonna push that wall out just a little bit from my wall. It wouldn't advise you to do that. Really, you should keep it to where you're not gonna punch anything, but I've been VR long enough and I use a mat to help keep me in place that I should be pretty good about not punching anything. You can also remove parts, so if I wanted to reel something back now, I could kind of push it back in here, and it says we're all set. Oh. It's weird, these little details are the things they should let you see at a demo at like CES. There'll be a whole video about cable management solutions and stuff, but for now, I'm gonna get my old cable management solution I haven't used in way too long and get this cable up off the floor. If you've been like me and you've been using a Quest for a long time, this cable immediately is super annoying. But if you're coming from a PSVR 1 to this, or you've never had a VR headset, you're probably gonna be able to deal with it. It's not gonna feel so bad. But when you've been wireless for a long time, it is a little hard to go back to being wired, which surprised me, because I thought, oh, I've played wired forever, it's not gonna be a big deal. I will get this thing calibrated up above me a little better to where it won't be as noticeable, but it hangs low enough that I'm worried about turning and wrapping it around me. It was kind of annoying, especially because of where it comes off of. I wish that there was a way to like have it come off of here or something, since I suspend mine up, or even if they'd put it in the dead center instead of the side over here. It just felt like it was always grabbing on my shoulder as I tried to turn, and the cable was kind of a nuisance. You get into the games and you're like, wow, the screens are nice and bright. The darks or blacks are super black. Oh, the screen is so smooth. Even on PC, when you play this, it's like, it's usually the frame rate's really rough. Right now, this looks pretty good. There's a little bit of jittering every now and again. I don't know what it is about this screen that just puts everything to the test. Man, when you're in the dark screens like this and there's just a loading thing in front of you, it's so dark though. I've really missed that with a lot of headsets. Well, that whole switch to LCD just made for so much gray mess in these kind of loading screens. Oh, and my controller battery is already low, so yeah, we're not gonna get too far in games here. Man, you notice the brightness when you use something like a flashlight though. The headset has a bright display on it, which I really like. Oh my goodness. And keep in mind, this is day one, so there will still probably be a lot of games that need more updates and will end up looking graphically better. Oh, No Man's Sky looks good though. I still feel like it could look a little better. People are gonna hate me saying this, but The screen door effect is still there. When you look at the sky, that's really when you can identify it. But weirdly, instead of looking like a screen door, it almost looks like denim when you look at it closely. There's like the lines and they're not directly vertical or horizontal. There's just like this grid of little lines. It's definitely still there. We're getting closer in VR, but I have yet to see a headset that fully eliminates it. No Man's Sky is looking good though. Oh, I just want to point at things with a flashlight. It's a good old PSVR experience, but with way newer graphics. You know, everything looks nice and sharp, but it still feels like that familiar old friend. It's nice and lightweight, it's comfortable. The lightweight of the headset, you really appreciate that again. Like, yes, there's a wire, which can be annoying, but the lightweightness when you're moving your head around, it's just so light. No batteries, it doesn't need that much weight. Boy, the graphics do look really good. I would expect it. I mean, it's a PS5 powering it with high resolution. These hands look great. Having only ever seen this on Quest, this looks so much different. This looks so gritty and like everything looks dirty and grimy and real. It's a huge difference. Pistol Whip is not a super graphically intense game, so it's not gonna be something that I'm like, oh my gosh, it looks so much better, but it does look better. I haven't gotten to spend much time gaming yet. This is just a first impressions basically, because we barely had it and my controllers are already dead after I think less than an hour of using them from coming in. So you probably want to charge yours first. Yes, now the right one's low too. I know that. So far, do I regret my pre-order and paying $550 for this? Absolutely not. But I am a VR enthusiast. I love VR, and so getting to see the future, getting to feel when in Pistol Whip when I'd get shot or my head would hit one of the walls and feeling the whole headset shake, it just really added to it. I'm gonna get shot and see if I feel it yet, because I haven't noticed the headset haptics yet. It's weird, because you get shot, and the vibration kind of happens a little bit after. That could just be this game. Okay. The headset haptics, it takes a minute to get used to it, but once you do get used to it and you just accept it as part of the experience, it is really cool. Because like, it's almost like when a screen shakes, but you feel the screen shake. Yeah, that's really unique, but that's really cool. Let's hit this and see. Yeah, headset haptics are really cool. The adaptive triggers, making everything feel different. At first I said it felt a little awkward. Wow. Having pressure on a trigger when you're pulling it, it just really adds to it. I like that a lot. I'm so used to the Quest ones that just fall all the way in that feeling it stop it. At first it feels wrong. It's like, why is my trigger stopping? And then you pull it further. You almost go to inspect it. You're like, what's happening? That adaptive trigger is so cool. It feels really weird at first though. It feels like wrong. Once you got used to it, you started to realize you wanted it, you depended on it, and now I feel like if I go play my Quest, it's just gonna feel so flat not having that there. The haptics feel so nice. When you grab something like a disc, it's just a light little grab. You can really feel those PS5 controller haptics in here when you're used to just the weak vibrations of the Quest. The grip buttons were a surprise. I said in my initial thoughts when I tried it at CES, I really liked how they just clicked and you knew they were clicked, but it takes a sizable amount of pressure to click them, and I didn't realize that in that first demo. You kind of end up white knuckling them because like the guns in Afterfall, I kept dropping them when I didn't mean to. I learned like I had to squeeze it a lot tighter than I thought I was squeezing it. Nope. No, come here. I keep letting go of my guns on accident. Usually with other grip buttons, you're used to, you don't have to hold them super tight. These have a high, tight click. You're gonna have to get used to just holding a little tighter. It might fatigue you a bit, I'm worried over time. But yeah, even there, I kept dropping my guns. You really gotta squeeze. And that was something that was like, oh, maybe this is gonna be a little hard to get used to, and your middle fingers are gonna get tired in a game like that, where you're constantly holding something. You might actually end up switching to like the toggle style, which is where like to pick up a gun, you just hit it once and it holds the gun, and then you hit it again to drop it. I like the realism of feeling like I'm holding it, but that might get a little tiring there. There was something, and I don't think there's gonna be any way for us to capture it on camera, but those of you who see it are gonna know what I'm talking about. There was something, and I think it was the lights that were watching for my eye tracking, that I kept seeing just out of the corner of my vision, and it was a little distracting. There's also something weird I'm noticing inside the headset. I don't know if it's the lights are lighting up my eyes for eye tracking, but in between when it like goes to a black screen, or even now if I look, I can kind of see these like blue halo rings on the outside of the screens. It's slightly distracting. It's weird. It's not, if I point my eye at it, it goes away. It's only in my peripheral vision that I'm seeing these weird rings. I'm sure I'll get used to that, but it was definitely something weird because I haven't had that in other headsets where I kept noticing it, my eyes kept darting to see what it was, and then it would disappear because it wasn't visible if your eye was focusing on it. It was only visible when you were looking forward in your peripheral vision. That was a little weird. I thought these would be total crap like the first PSVR ones. They're fine. I didn't get a chance to play a lot lot of music. I just did pistol whip, but it was good enough that I felt like, you know, I would actually continue to maybe use these if I didn't have something better. They're not bad by any means. One weird thing, if you're used to a Quest, I'm so used to when I pull up a menu, I then aim at it, and that's no longer the case in this. You pull up the menu and then you're back to moving with sticks. Small detail, but just when you're so used to pointing at them, it feels kind of weird that we're in VR. Why is it all flat controllers again? It's got this double nose blocker here. It seemed like it blocked all light out. I really like that about it. And this also didn't bug me. Sometimes you feel it on your nose with other headsets, the way they design them. This, it's so lightweight that you don't really notice it's there, but it really kept the light out. Controllers, I already got a scuff on. I don't know how I managed to do that or what I hit them on. Them being white, you're probably gonna notice a lot of scuffs on there. Something you're just gonna have to accept with these, especially because it's kind of awkward to figure out like where do you set them or how do you set them. There's no clear way like, oh, put them like this. I'll probably end up setting them down like that because at least they're solid instead of wobbling around. I do think making this white, you're gonna notice more dirt and issues on it, which is unfortunate, but what can you do? We got tons more testing to do, tons more content coming out about this in the next several days. So drop questions you have here that you want to see in the next videos as we go deeper, we dive further into this, because I wanna make sure everyone out there who's considering this purchase knows everything they want to before they splurge for $550 or even $600 for a bundle on this. But thank you for coming out. I'm really excited to have this, and I will see you in another reality.